we've got 6 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order, please. Someone should have a resolution to adoption of the agenda.
Me. Okay. Resolution number 2020-022, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ward. Be resolved that the agenda be adopted as amended, as presented,
Great. Question. All those in favor? Carries. Confirmation of the minutes.
Resolution number 2020-023, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ward. Be resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting and the committee of the whole of January 27, 2019 be hereby approved. All statutory declarations have been complied with.
Question. All those in favor? It's carried. Citizens period. I see you. Would you mind to come forward, please? And just, if you wouldn't mind giving us your name for the record and what brings you here this evening.
I go by Peggy McGilvery. Margaret on my land deed, and I submitted a concern about the noise bylaw. I received a reply, and I really need some clarification because, in my opinion, the clause is a bit ambiguous, the way it can be read. So, if you don't mind, I have copies. So you can see that generally highlighted the bottom part of the clause, and
So I wonder if you could give us some history as to what brought you here.
I live kitty corner to the McDonald's parking lot, so on 2 occasions my sleep was disrupted by snow clearing. The latest one really bothered me because it was 4 in the morning.
And you're referring to McDonald's clearing their lot?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and it was really quite noisy. There hadn't been any snow, so they were just basically scraping, and it went on for a couple hours.
Okay, and
So when I read the bylaw before I put in a complaint, I wasn't clear. The snow removal and street parking seemed to apply to, and street parking lot sweeping shall be exempt, seemed to apply to the clause referring to the town of the Pas, snow removals and emergency. Just the way it's worded, it can be interpreted 2 ways. So I'm wondering if the town council could perhaps look at that bylaw, see if they can tidy up the wording a bit, see if it's in everyone's best interest in a residential area.
okay, and that happens when we get a bit of snow and they go to clearing the lot, that's correct?
No, there was no
There
snow
was no
for about
snow,
a week and a half. They were just clearing the lot because there was on a bit of a melt, I guess. At the 4, at the 11 to 1 time, there had been a snow, so I didn't bother with it because we did have a hit of 6 inches of snow. But it seemed to me that, the parking lot was virtually empty all day Sunday. They didn't have to wait till 4 a.m. Monday morning or Sunday night, whatever it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had rubber up the issue or complaint form for Ms. McGilvery, and it does, I think, and I don't think we're disagreeing necessarily. If that's the rule, but it does state in there, as you can see, the, except for the town of the Paw in emergency situations, but then yet in the bottom part, snow removal and street parking lot sweeping shall be exempt from this clause. So is anybody can run a machine? If that's the case, if anybody can run a machine from 12 a.m. to 7, then it kind of defeats the purpose to even have it. You just say you can snow clear anytime you want, because obviously you can during the day. So I read it as being, that's why I asked her to come here tonight, is because I'm reading it as only the town of the Paw in emergency situations can do it, and the others have to do their due diligence to make sure it's not between 12 and 7. I mean, obviously, if you get 50 centimeters of snow, anybody could take consideration to that, but just because you happen to be free that night or whatever situation is, you can't or shouldn't be able to clear snow at 4 in the morning when the house is right next door. So,
The way that it's worded, it's ambiguous because it doesn't necessarily state who can and can't. It needs to be tightened up for sure.
yeah.
So what I would suggest, we'll give this to the CAO. She should speak with her department heads. We have a policy review committee, and the committee should probably meet to discuss this, to come up with a recommendation. Okay? All right, thank you. We will be in touch. All right. Any other citizens? No? All right, bylaws, vehicle for hire bylaw.
Resolution number 2020-024, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Zelinski. Resolved that bylaw number 4601, being the bylaw of the town of the Paw to provide for the licensing of regulation of vehicles for hire, and to repeal the bylaw number 4567 be read for the first time.
All right, question? All those in favor? It's carried. All right, Public Works, snow removal agreement.
Resolution 2020-025, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Zelinski. Resolved that council authorizes the mayor and the assistant CAO to sign the attached snow removal agreement with the government of Manitoba as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure for the term to expire May 1st, 2020.
All right, question? All those in favor? Number 631, Economic Development Coordinator.
So, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Atkinson, whereas the town of the Paw hired Harris Leadership Strategies to recruit an economic development officer, whereas the CDC recently hired an economic development coordinator and has proposed that the economic development coordinator become a town of the Paw position in order to ensure this position is permanent, and whereas the CDC's proposal would benefit the town financially because Harris Leadership Strategies services to search for an economic development officer would no longer be required, and the wage for this position will be covered by using a portion of the town's annual grant provided to the CDC each year. Therefore, it be resolved that mayor and council accept the CDC's proposal and the Harris Group Strategy Services to search for an economic development officer for the town of the Paw be canceled as per discussion during the in-camera portion of the January 27th, 2020 Committee of the Whole meeting. And I just want to clarify, this doesn't change the agreements between the CDC and the town of the Paw. It doesn't change anything. It's ending the Harris Leadership Strategies recruitment, and that's, so we'll be saving money by ending that strategy because we're no longer going forward with that recruitment of that position.
Any discussion?
To speak to that, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, I don't want this to be perceived as a roadblock or a stalling tactic. On November 12, 2019, we passed a resolution to hire Harris Planning Strategics to find an economic community development officer for our community. In the past few days, Harris has given us 3 candidates for the employment development officer. Therefore, in our community's best interest, this resolution is presented here tonight should be postponed until March 23rd council meeting, giving this council the opportunity to interview the 3 candidates. Thank you.
Is that a motion?
Hey?
Is that a motion?
That's a motion, yes.
Is there a seconder?
I have a question.
I think we need a
Do
seconder.
we need a seconder first?
Is there a seconder?
Oh, sorry.
Larry seconding? Okay. You have a question?
I do have a question.
Is it about the, it needs to be about the postponing of the resolution?
No.
Not the resolution.
No, it's in regards to the resolution, so no.
Any questions in regards to postponing the resolution? Okay, then the question has been called. All those in favor of postponing the resolution? Opposed? It's defeated. Okay, discussion on the resolution. You have a question,
I
Councillor.
do have a question. My only question is in paragraph 3 where it says "and whereas." Starting the final sentence where it says will be covered by using a portion of the town's annual grant provided to the CDC each year.
Would you like me to, can I answer that?
If you could address the chair, please.
Yeah, that's what I was at.
Carrie, are you finished?
What my question is that it says annual and each year. And in the past, I know that the grant wasn't offered, like past council didn't offer it 1 year. So I'm just kind of wondering, is it a grant that occurs every single year as a given, or is the wording just a little bit, like, I'm just wondering if the wording isn't just right.
If I may, historically, over the last 5 years, in 2 of the last 5 years, the town of La Platte didn't fund the CDC. I think it was in, I can tell you the exact years. It was in 2015 and 2018. No funds were given by the previous council to the CDC.
So then, does that mean that it is an annual grant to be provided each year, or those 2 years, it was an exception to the annual grant that is to be provided each year?
It's my understanding it's an annual grant.
Okay. That was my question, was whether or not it is an annual grant, or that was my only question with it.
Councillor Murphy.
Just for clarification on the grants, aren't the grants proposed each year by the town or by whatever organization, whether it be the CDC or whoever it happens to be? And then at that time during budget, we would decide whether to approve the grant or not. So in this case, just so I'm clear, that this would not change any of the agreement or granting requests from the town of DePaul. It does not change the CDC's agreement or the funding agreement with the town of DePaul.
Is there a question in that?
No, I said I was providing clarification. I can ask the question, is that true?
I'm confused. So,
Well, I just made a statement, I'm wondering if that's the way it actually works or not.
so my understanding, during the budget process, grants to organizations are considered for all the organizations. And during the budget process, the decision is made as to which grants, which organizations the community, the town, is going to fund,
Okay.
right? So that is part of the budget process.
Yeah. Okay, that's good, I was just looking for clarification on that.
Okay, any other questions or comments at this time, just a minute? Okay, so I have a couple. In my opinion, that this entire request should be handled during the budget process as opposed to outside of it. We are just in the budget process now. We haven't decided upon anything. I'm not even certain that we have the authority to do this at this time, given that we haven't approved the budgets and that this wasn't a previously budgeted position. We have passed the interim operating budgets back in January to be able to keep the company going, to pay the bills, to pay the lights, and that sort of thing. And when I was reading the Municipal Act, under Section 3 about approvals of deficits and transfers, there's a Section 4 that details expenditures not included in financial plans. So at this moment in time, this position isn't included in any financial plan that I am aware of, and I could be wrong. And it says subsection 1695 allows the council to make expenditures not included in its adopted financial plan under certain circumstances. The expenditure is covered by transfer from accumulated surplus or general reserve funds that are within established regulations, established by Regulation 4997, or the expenditure is covered by an authorized borrowing bylaw. And it underlines this: council must give notice and hold a public hearing in respect of the expenditure unless the expenditure is covered by a transfer from a reserve fund established for the specific purpose for which the expenditure is made. So given that it wasn't included in the 2019 financial plan, and given that we're now at the very beginning of the 2020 financial plan, I'm not sure how we can legally make this commitment. And I'm just deferring to the CEO. I got your hand. Deferring to the CEO as the expert if she has any insight.
I don't at this time.
Okay,
I'd have
that's fair.
to do some reading.
Councillor Lane.
I guess maybe I can address some of the concerns that you or some of the other council may have. I mean, in terms of the budgeting concern, well, in my mind, if we were going to continue to have the interviews, I would assume we're going to be offering somebody a job, because that's typically why we interview people, so we're not continuing that process. Therefore, we would have enough funding to go forward with that position, but we still don't even have to worry about that, because as Councillor Murphy and everyone else agreed on, this organization makes a presentation and we go forward with the budget or not. So we have in the last however long gone forward with the budgets. In some cases, we haven't had to use or give the money because of other extenuating circumstances, but that is there. To say that we have authority for it, why not? We're going to go forward with an EDO position. I'm sure there's been things over the last umpteen years that hasn't necessarily been brought up in a budgeting process, but we have done it. I do believe we've hired a couple of people. One position in particular we didn't have for at least 2 years. That person is now hired. That wasn't discussed in our budgeting process. We talked about a couple of different options, but they are now working with us. So I finally think that we've made a decision, that we had on the whatever the in-camera session was, and the resolutions come out from that. And I'd like us to make a decision whether it's yay or nay on it.
If I can, for clarity, who are you referring to, at least 2 years now working with us?
We didn't have a bylaw enforcement officer for the last, 2, 3, 4 years, I guess. So now we have one. That wasn't something that I believe was budgeted. Maybe we should rethink if we didn't think I had the authority to do it, but
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know if it was in the budget or not.
I don't know if it was either. Because we talked about several other different options, including the bylaw enforcement officer. But I do believe that person has started last week, yeah, so.
Any other discussion? Questions? Anybody?
recommendation that since this is in regards to staffing issues, that we talk about it outside of this table and this room,
Unfortunately,
or it can't be.
well, unfortunately, Councillor Ward did present a resolution to table or to postpone the discussion, and that was defeated, so this now becomes the forum. And I do agree with you. I find it distasteful to have this discussion in public at this time, but unfortunately, that is the will of council. So here we be.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So I just want to bring a little bit more clarification maybe. So, you know, the thing is that this proposal was more around Harris leadership and about the recruitment that was going on around there. And during our search for the CDC and the position that we were looking for, we believed, and we discussed at the last council meeting, that there was a very good candidate that would be able to help us out within the town of The Pas to deliver all of the goals and wishes of mayor and council to improve our community. So what came about that was more along the lines to let's cancel the search because we believe we found somebody that can fill it's not exactly the same title and a name, but let's cancel the search because we believe we might have a solution within an internal candidate that somebody else has found. On top of that, so the main reason of the resolution coming forward is that we have to cancel formally the contract with Harris Leadership Strategies. On top of that, when you think about it, you know, it will be a bit of a cost savings for us in the long term. It doesn't change any of our outstanding agreements with anybody. And yes, it does add an employee, but I believe a valuable employee to the town that was looking to do that anyways. So my recommendation is to continue along with it. We will save the recruitment fees that go along with this, and we move forward. So.
A question for clarity on the resolution. It states in the resolution, whereas the CDC's proposal would benefit the town financially, and be it resolved that mayor and council accept the CDC's proposal. Was that proposal in writing? I don't remember seeing it.
The proposal was, there was an issue sheet prepared, and the discussion was around the issue sheet. And it was actually on our agenda for the last 2 meetings, I believe. We talked about it once, we had a general discussion, and then we said that we would bring it back to the following meeting, which we did. There has been some paperwork forwarded on to the CAO and the assistant CAO with regards to the legal agreements that would require for a secondment position.
Okay, so this doesn't speak to the secondment? I don't see anything in here about the secondment. Are there minutes or a resolution of something from a CDC board meeting that supports everything that's being presented to us?
I would imagine, I mean, my minute takings, to be honest with you, is not the greatest, but it has been on the discussion on the CDC table.
Okay, so is there a resolution from the CDC? Did you guys do a resolution? At which board meeting?
I'll have to go back and look at that.
Did you want us to wait, or is it take a while?
Yeah, it'll take a long while because I don't even have my computer here with me, so I would have to go back and look.
So the CDC had a meeting and they discussed the benefits of the economic development officer becoming part of the town staff and seconded to the CDC? They had
Absolutely.
They had that at a board meeting?
They've had discussions at a board meeting specifically on that.
And there's minutes?
There would be something, yes. I can go back and look, and if not, we will make sure that everybody understands that the discussion was captured properly.
Okay, it's just when I was reviewing some minute stuff, the last minutes I seen from the CDC, I think were November 27th or something like that.
Right.
So I didn't know if there was a meeting afterwards where this was all discussed, because I didn't see it in those minutes.
Well, further than that, in terms of the discussion, I mean, we had a committee set up to do the interview reviewing, which our assistant CAO was a part of. and a member or two members of the CDC, or what was it, whether they were part of the interview process as well, so.
So the discussion around secondment is a separate issue that will need to be negotiated?
It's not a negotiated, really, item. Typically, from my understanding on it, Mr. Mayor, is that it's an agreement that's just made to allow somebody to work outside their major employer. It takes place all the time, and I also believe that must be a similar agreement for the RCMP staff that are town employees that also work for the RCMP and don't take any direction from the town. The discussion we had regarding secondment and personnel was more, that's something that should be just dealt with the CAO, and they can come up with a plan to do that. We didn't speak in details, and it should be vetted through a lawyer, as discussed and agreed upon.
Any other discussion?
In nullifying Harris planning strategies, like we've paid them, I think someplace in the neighborhood of $12,000 already. And they have presented 3 candidates to us, so their obligation has probably been made to us. And we'll probably be getting quite an invoice, I would suspect. So it's not going to nullify the dollars going to, and that's my concern in all this, and that's why I put this resolution there, was that we have spent this money already, our community's money on this already. And I feel that we should still have the interviews, and if it doesn't pan out, it doesn't pan out. It's just that we spent a lot of community money on this already, and that's all I have to say.
Any discussion?
Can I ask what the vote was?
I'm sorry.
It was in camera, we can't discuss it in camera.
No. The vote at the table here.
The vote was for,
On the resolution?
the vote that we had was
No,
to,
pardon me, the number of the vote, because I didn't vote. So I'm just kind of wondering how it went.
I'm sorry,
Was
Karen, what are you talking of? Which?
For Bill,
Postponing it?
because when I went back to the question, I was told that we couldn't talk about that I'm getting confused now.
Are you talking about when we voted on
Oh,
whether
I
we're
can talk about
postponing?
myself.
Sorry.
I'm sorry?
No, I'm getting mixed up here. I wanted to ask a question, but I was told that it needed to have to do with the resolution, but I had to wait because a vote had went through.
Right, so Bill and Larry presented a resolution or a motion
Right.
to postpone the discussion
Right.
on this, right? We voted on that and it was defeated. So now we're dealing with the resolution.
So, and that's what I was asking. You said it was defeated, so I was asking what the number of that vote was.
4-3,
I didn't vote.
3-2.
I didn't raise my hand.
3-2.
3-2? Okay.
That's what the vote was. Yeah.
Because I was confused as to whether or not my question, like I didn't feel that since I was in that in-camera meeting and that I was unsure of the wording with this, that I just didn't vote. So that's why I was clarifying how that vote went. So it was 3-2, is what you're saying?
You didn't vote. Your arm didn't go up.
Well, if-
I
either.
didn't vote.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would have been 3-3 and it would have been defeated,
Okay,
okay?
thank you, sorry.
That's okay.
I needed to clarify that.
Any other questions, queries? No? Okay, I'll be asking for a recorded vote on this one, please. So, so the question's been called, so Councillor Forster.
What is the question? please.
Okay, so I'll read the resolution back. Moved by Councillor, I'm sorry, I can't read people's writing, so.
That's me, Lane and Atkinson.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Councillor Lane, seconded by Councillor Atkins. Whereas the town of the Pas hired Harris Leadership Strategies to recruit an economic development officer, and whereas the CDC recently hired an economic development coordinator, and it's proposed that the economic development coordinator become a town of the Pas position in order to ensure this position is permanent. And whereas the CDC's proposal would benefit the town financially because Harris Leadership Strategies services to search for an economic development officer would no longer be required, and the wage for this position will be covered by using a portion of the town's annual grant provided to the CDC each year. Therefore, be it resolved that Mayor and Council accept the CDC's proposal and that Harris Leadership Strategy Services to search for an economic development officer for the town of the Pas be cancelled as per discussion during the in-camera portion of the January 27th, 2020 Committee of the Whole meeting. So again, asking for a recorded vote. Councillor Forster.
I'll vote for it.
Councillor Ward.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
In favor.
favor? Councillor Zelinski.
Aye.
Councillor Lane.
Yes.
Councillor Atkinson.
In favor?
Councillor Murphy.
In favor.
And myself will vote opposed. Cool, next item.
Oh, sorry.
641, solar-powered speed limits.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Ward. Be it resolved that council move forward with a solar-powered speed reader board to be supplied by Manitoba Public Insurance, and be it further resolved that council is in agreement with moving the speed reader board around the following three locations: Pasco School, Gordon Avenue, Good Times between the 80-kilometer and 50-kilometer signs, and on 3rd Street at the court office, and Highway between the 70-kilometer and the 50-kilometer hour signs.
Alrighty, question? All those in favor? Opposed? Did everybody vote?
No, in favor.
You're in favor? All right. Ah, 642, library.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ward. Whereas the following budgeted items for the library did not get completed in 2019 and now have to be included in the 2020 budget. And whereas the 2020 budget is not yet completed, but the town wants to get started on these items, therefore be it resolved that council pre-approve the following items in the 2020 budget for the library: annex carpet replacement, lighting, annex gate, and annex bathroom.
All right, question. All those in favor? Carried. .643, Museum Board.
Resolution number 2020-029, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Murphy. Whereas in accordance with bylaw number 4590, being a bylaw of the town of the Pas to authorize the establishment of the museum board, Part 5, Section 5 states, it is council's responsibility to appoint board members. Therefore, be it resolved, the council appoint Keith Hyde to the the Sam Waller Museum Board.
All right, question. All those in favor? It's carried. 644. Payroll and accounts.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lane, that we resolve that the council authorize the following accounts. Pay period number 2 in the amount of $102,639.87. General checks number 24084 to 134, 24, 136, to 24, 143, and 24, 145 to 24, 177, the amount of $290,679.66. And EFTS in the amount of $63,196.77.
All right, any questions about the payments? All right, question, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? One? All right. Counts in conflict. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Atkinson, be resolved that the council authorize the following accounts in conflict: general checks number 24135 and 24144, the amount of $458.32. All right, question. All those in favor? I'm abstaining. Gary, you abstaining?
Yes.
All right, committee reports. First, Museum Board. We have a meeting on the 18th. Chamber of Commerce.
I know our President Trent has been trying to book a meeting. I'm not 100% sure because I was out of town last week, so nothing came about. There you go.
Sustainable Forests. I'm not here. Citizens on Patrol.
I would suspect they had a meeting. I have to say that I was sorry I didn't attend. I thought I was told the first Tuesday of the month, and on Wednesday I thought, whoops, I missed a meeting. So sorry about that.
CDC.
We have no meeting planned right now, but we do have one scheduled for tomorrow. And our focus is really to get prepared for the government visits that are happening. So we have 2 meetings lined up on Tuesday or on Wednesday, and we want to make sure that we deliver a crisp message for the things that we want to do and pass that on to them. So there's a takeaway.
Who are you guys meeting with?
I just looked that up. We're meeting with, on Wednesday at 1:30 in the committee room. We're meeting with Doug Lamont, an MLA. And on Wednesday at 3:30 at the West Canada, we're meeting with Rick Wochuk, Landon Leafson, and Greg Nesbitt in the West Canada banquet room. So if there's anything that you would like us to bring forward that we don't already are not aware of, please let Jackie know early tomorrow. We have a meeting. Our CDC meeting is upstairs tomorrow at noon.
Okay. And the minutes from the last meeting will be provided?
Yeah, I will get those for you in the next day or so. I don't know why we don't have the ones that we had previous, but we wouldn't have had approved minutes anyways because we wouldn't have met since then.
You wouldn't have met since
I
the
don't know if
November
we met
meeting?
in January.
Did-
I don't know. I'll get you some information, or it was discussed.
Did you guys meet in December? We met in both.
But we met about, we didn't, that was a RHA meeting. We didn't actually have a meeting, did we?
I'll have to go look.
I have to
back
look.
and see. So when was your last board?
As soon as we go in the other room, I'll see if my computer's in my bag and I'll give you all the dates.
Okay.
Because I did send, I think I sent Jen and everybody else a copy of the entire file that has all the details in it. But I could send that to you tonight. Again, my tracking method and minutes is not the greatest, and one of the things we've asked for is to flower them up a bit, because we haven't had any support. since June.
My commentary is that it seems like and again, I could be wrong because we haven't seen the minutes, but it seems to be the last board meeting was in November, because we haven't seen any board minutes since. But since that time, we've seen a proposal to hire someone full-time, and we've also seen a budget presented to council. So I'm just curious if the board is having meetings?
Yes, we
and
are.
Is the board passing resolutions supporting the directions that the CDC is taking?
Yes.
So we'll look forward to seeing the minutes.
Yeah, I look forward to sending them to you.
All right, Cedar Lake.
There hasn't been a meeting. We meet quarterly.
Recycling Board.
Nope, we have a meeting scheduled next week.
The Paw Community Renewal Corp.
Meeting scheduled for the 21st.
Library Board.
There was a meeting last week. I didn't attend. I wasn't feeling well. I do have the minutes here. And Trappers Festival display is up and running. Ticket sales for some new events that are coming out. Playgroup is still happening Friday mornings. Story Hour is still Thursday mornings. Game nights is still Wednesday evening. The MEGU draft agreement has been provided. Unfortunately, it's 40 pages long, and I haven't gotten through it. I'm halfway through. Prison Library is still every second Wednesday. Home Roots concert venue is still on, and social media seems to be up once again, and the next meeting will be March 5th at 6:30.
Will you give?
Certainly, these
copy?
are for
And then
Julie,
you can
yes.
put them on the whole list?
Yes.
That'd be great. SCAN, I don't believe there's a meeting coming up in March, I think is the next one.
March 5th or something.
Kelsey Planning District, there's been no meetings, nothing new there. KSD Committee,
We had a meeting, unfortunately, Carrie and Larry, I think Carrie was out of the country and Larry was tied up that night. Pretty informal, and I did forward on our next plan of attack that's not probably a good word, our next action will be to look at Woodielish Drive and the drainage issues around there. I forwarded on the report from the engineer, also sent to Julie, and I believe Julie and Jen, copied Sam, and then we'll work through a bit of a plan to see what we can do to improve that through the next few months. We did try to set up another meeting after that, but unfortunately, I think Vaughn's gone to Puerto Vallarta or something for a month.
thank you. All right, any unfinished business, not that I'm aware of, general business?
When do they report, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, when do we report on like the Workplace Safety and Health Committee? Is that in, did they do that in here as part of that, or?
It should be under Committee of the Whole as an
Okay.
agenda item.
So do I have to put that as an agenda item? So even though there's nothing, like it's a committee that I sit on, I have to put it on an agenda to give you an update on what's happening?
Yes.
Okay. You're making that update tonight.
Citizens period? There's nothing for Committee of the Whole. Motion to adjourn? Somebody going to move it?